Your debt does not disappear when the dollar collapses. In fact, it becomes heavier. It becomes a chain that tightens around your neck with every passing day. Most people believe that if the currency fails, the system resets and their loans vanish into thin air. They imagine a fresh start. They dream of wiping the slate clean. This is a dangerous fantasy. It is a lie that will cost you your home, your savings, and your freedom. The reality is far darker and far more complex. When the value of money plummets, the number on your loan statement stays exactly the same. But the value of the work you must do to pay it off skyrockets. You owe the same digits, but those digits now require twice as much labor, twice as much time, and twice as much sacrifice to earn. This is not a theoretical risk. It is a mathematical certainty that has destroyed families throughout history. And right now, millions of Americans are sleepwalking into this trap because they do not understand the difference between nominal debt and real debt. They think they are safe because they have a fixed mortgage. They think they are smart because they locked in a low interest rate. But they are missing the most critical piece of the puzzle. They are ignoring what happens to their income, their assets, and their purchasing power when the foundation of the economy cracks. If you do not understand this mechanism, you are not just risking your wealth. You are risking your ability to feed your family. You are risking your place in society. The clock is ticking, and the window to prepare is closing faster than you think. To understand why your debt becomes a weapon against you, you must first understand what debt actually is. Debt is a promise to pay future labor for present goods. When you take out a mortgage, you are promising to work a certain number of hours in the future to pay for the house you live in today. Under normal conditions, this is a fair trade. Inflation is usually low and predictable. Your wages rise slowly over time. The burden of the debt feels lighter each year because your income grows while the payment stays the same. This is the comfort zone most people live in. It is the illusion of safety. But this system relies entirely on stability. It relies on the belief that the dollar will retain its value. When that belief breaks, the contract changes. The government does not cancel your debt. The bank does not forgive your loan. The legal obligation remains ironclad. What changes is the value of the money you use to pay it. If the dollar loses half its value, your salary might eventually rise to match inflation, but it rarely keeps up in real time. There is a lag, a painful, destructive lag. During that period, you are working twice as hard to make the same payment. Your standard of living collapses. Your discretionary income vanishes. You become a servant to your creditor in a way you never intended. This is the hidden tax of currency collapse. It is not collected by the IRS. It is collected by the banks, the bondholders, and the institutions that hold your paper. If this sounds alarming, it should be, but panic is not the answer. Understanding is the answer. Most people go wrong here because they focus on the wrong variable. They focus on the interest rate. They worry about whether rates will go up or down. They refinance their homes to save a fraction of a percent. They celebrate small victories while ignoring the approaching tsunami. This is where people go wrong. The interest rate is irrelevant if the currency itself is failing. A 0% loan is still a disaster if the money you repay is worth 10 times more in terms of real goods than the money you borrowed. Wait, that sounds backward. Let us clarify. If you borrow money when the dollar is strong and you repay it when the dollar is weak, you usually win. That is the classic inflation hedge. Borrow hard assets, repay with cheap dollars. This is what savvy investors do. But here is the twist that nobody tells you. In a true collapse, the rules change. Wages do not keep up. Jobs disappear. Credit freezes. The bank may demand repayment in a different form. Or worse, the government may intervene with capital controls, preventing you from accessing the funds you need to pay your debt. The danger is not just in the math. It is in the chaos. The system becomes rigid. Liquidity dries up. You might own a valuable home, but you cannot sell it. You might have a high income on paper, but you cannot convert it to cash. You are asset-rich and cash-poor, while your debt collector demands immediate payment. This is the trap. This is the scenario that turns middle-class homeowners into destitute refugees in their own country. Before we go deeper into the specific mechanisms of how this plays out, take a moment to consider who in your life needs to hear this. Think of your parents, your siblings, or your closest friends. Are they prepared? Do they understand that their fixed mortgage may not save them? Share this video with them. It could be the conversation that saves their future. Do not wait until the crisis is headline news. By then, it will be too late to act. The time to build understanding is now, while there is still calm. Your network is your net worth, and protecting them is part of protecting yourself. Let us look at a realistic example. Imagine a couple, John and Sarah. They bought a house for $400,000. They have a 30-year fixed mortgage. Their monthly payment is $2,000. They feel secure. They believe they are protected from inflation. Now imagine the dollar collapses. Prices for food, fuel, and energy triple. The cost of living skyrockets. John and Sarah's salaries do not triple overnight. In fact, their employer might freeze wages due to economic uncertainty. Or worse, one of them might lose their job. Suddenly, that $2,000 mortgage payment is no longer a manageable portion of their income. It is a crushing burden. To pay it, they must cut every other expense. They stop eating out. They cancel insurance. They defer maintenance on the house. They drain their savings. They are bleeding financially. And this is assuming they keep their jobs. In a severe economic contraction, unemployment spikes. If John loses his job, he cannot find another one easily. The labor market is frozen. He has no income, but the bank still wants its $2,000. The bank does not care about the collapsing dollar. The bank cares about the contract, and the contract says pay or lose the house. John and Sarah are forced to sell, but who buys a house in a collapsing economy? Nobody. The market is dead. They must sell at a fire sale price if they can sell at all. They lose their equity. They lose their home. They end up renting, paying higher rents because housing supply shrinks. Their debt did not disappear. It consumed them. This scenario is not hypothetical. It has happened in Argentina. It has happened in Venezuela. It has happened in Zimbabwe. In each case, people held onto debt thinking it was a hedge. They thought inflation would erase their loans, but they forgot about income volatility. They forgot about liquidity crises. They forgot that banks have power. In the United States, the legal framework is even more rigid. The Supreme Court has consistently upheld the sanctity of contracts. There is no clause in your mortgage that says void if the dollar collapses. There is no emergency exit. You signed a promise to pay specific dollars. Those dollars are defined by law. Even if the government prints trillions more, the number you owe does not change. The only thing that changes is your ability to generate those dollars. This is the critical distinction. The debt is static. Your capacity to pay is dynamic. In a collapse, your capacity shrinks. The debt remains. The gap between the two is where your life gets destroyed. But that is not even the worst part. The worst part is what happens to your other debts. Credit cards, car loans, student loans, these are unsecured or semi-secured debts. In a collapse, interest rates on variable debts will explode. If you have a variable rate credit card, your interest could jump to 30, 40, or 50%. The banks will raise rates to protect themselves against inflation. They will pass the risk to you. You will find yourself owing double what you borrowed in a matter of months. And if you default, the collections industry becomes aggressive. In times of economic stress, legal protections for borrowers often erode. Courts are clogged. Judges are overwhelmed. The system favors those with resources. If you cannot pay, you face wage garnishment. You face liens on your property. You face a ruined credit score that locks you out of the recovering economy. You become a second-class citizen in the financial world. This is the reality of debt in a crisis. It is not a reset button. It is an anchor. Here is what most people miss. They think the government will save them. They expect a bailout. They expect mortgage forgiveness. They expect stimulus checks. While some relief measures may occur, they are rarely enough. Bailouts tend to help the banks, not the borrowers. Stimulus checks lose value instantly due to inflation. Mortgage forgiveness programs are bureaucratic nightmares that help a tiny fraction of people. Relying on government rescue is a strategy for failure. You must take responsibility for your own position. You must assume that no one is coming to save you. This mindset shift is essential. It moves you from passive victim to active protector. It forces you to look at your balance sheet with cold, hard eyes. It forces you to ask the difficult questions. How much debt do I really have? How liquid am I? What happens if my income drops by 50%? What happens if prices double? If you cannot answer these questions, you are vulnerable. And this is where it gets serious. The psychological toll of debt in a collapse is devastating. Stress levels rise, health declines, relationships fracture, money arguments become constant. The fear of losing everything creates a paralysis that prevents clear thinking. People make desperate mistakes. They take high-risk loans to pay off existing debt. They cash out retirement accounts at the wrong time. They fall for scams promising quick fixes. The desperation makes them easy targets for predators. The collapse of the dollar is not just a financial event. It is a social and emotional earthquake. Protecting your mind is as important as protecting your wallet. You must remain calm. You must remain rational. You must have a plan before the storm hits. Once the wind is blowing, it is too late to build the shelter. If you are finding this information valuable, please consider subscribing to the channel. We are dedicated to bringing you the truth about financial security, legal rights, and personal protection. We do not sell fear. We provide clarity. By subscribing, you ensure that you do not miss the next critical update. Knowledge is your best defense, and we are here to arm you with it. Join our community of informed citizens who are taking control of their futures. Your subscription supports our ability to research and produce these deep dives. It is a small action that yields a large return in peace of mind. Now let us talk about solutions. What can you do? The first step is to reduce high-interest debt immediately. Credit cards and personal loans are toxic in an inflationary environment. Pay them off. Sell assets if you must. Cut expenses. Free up cash flow. Cash flow is king. In a crisis, having monthly income that exceeds your monthly obligations is your greatest strength. It gives you flexibility. It gives you options. If you have extra cash, do not just sit on it in a bank account. Banks can fail. Accounts can be frozen. Consider holding some physical cash for short-term emergencies. But more importantly, invest in tangible assets. Real estate, gold, silver, tools, skills. Assets that have intrinsic value. Assets that people need regardless of the currency. If you have a fixed-rate mortgage on a productive asset like a rental property or your primary home and you can afford the payments, keep it. Inflation may eventually erode the real value of that debt. But only if you can survive the interim period. This is the key. Survival is the prerequisite for winning. You must have enough reserves to weather the storm. Build an emergency fund that covers 6 to 12 months of expenses. Keep it accessible. Keep it diverse. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Another crucial strategy is to increase your earning power. Skills are the ultimate hedge. No one can inflate away your ability to fix a car, grow food, code software, or care for the sick. Invest in yourself. Learn trades, build networks, create multiple streams of income. If one source dries up, others can sustain you. Diversification is not just for investments. It is for income. It is for survival. The more self-reliant you are, the less dependent you are on the fragile financial system. This reduces your vulnerability. It gives you leverage. It allows you to negotiate from a position of strength. Remember, debt is a form of dependency. Reducing debt increases independence. In uncertain times, independence is freedom. What about student loans? This is a tricky area. Student loans are often non-dischargeable in bankruptcy. They follow you for life. In a collapse, the burden of student debt becomes unbearable if your degree does not translate into high income. If you have significant student debt, consider refinancing if rates are favorable. But be careful. Do not trade a federal loan for a private one unless you are certain of your income stability. Federal loans offer protections like income-driven repayment plans. These protections may be your lifeline if your income drops. Do not give up federal protections lightly. Understand the terms. Know your rights. Read the fine print. The devil is in the details. The part almost nobody is prepared for is the legal aspect. As mentioned earlier, the Supreme Court and lower courts uphold contracts, but laws can change. Governments can impose moratoriums on foreclosures. They can cap interest rates. They can declare holidays on banking transactions. These measures create uncertainty. You need to know your legal rights. Understand the foreclosure process in your state. Understand the statute of limitations on debt collection. Know what assets are exempt from seizure. Every state has different exemption laws. Some protect your home equity, some protect your car, some protect your retirement accounts. Know these laws, use them to shield your wealth. Do not wait for a lawyer to tell you. Educate yourself now. Being proactive can save you thousands of dollars and years of stress. Let us revisit the emotional core of this issue. Why does this matter? Because debt is not just numbers, it is your time. It is your life. Every dollar you pay in interest is an hour of your life you will never get back. In a stable economy, this trade-off is acceptable. You buy a house, you pay interest, you gain a home. But in a collapsing economy, the trade-off becomes predatory. You give your life for a shrinking asset, you work harder for less reward. This is unjust. It is unfair. And it is avoidable if you act now. Do not let the system grind you down. Take control, reduce your exposure, build your resilience, protect your family. Consider the legacy you are leaving. Do you want to pass on debt to your children? Do you want them to start their adult lives burdened by your mistakes? Or do you want to pass on freedom? Freedom from obligation, freedom from fear, freedom to choose. This is the true wealth, not the size of your bank account, but the absence of chains. Debt is a chain. Break it. Break it before it breaks you. The time to break it is when times are good, when credit is cheap, when jobs are plentiful. Do not wait for the crisis. The crisis reveals the weaknesses you ignored. Fix them now. Strengthen your foundation. Build a fortress around your finances. As we near the end of this discussion, remember that knowledge without action is useless. You now understand the danger. You understand the mechanism. You understand the stakes. What will you do with this information? Will you ignore it and hope for the best, or will you take steps to protect yourself? The choice is yours, but know that ignorance is not bliss. It is vulnerability, and vulnerability is expensive. Pay the price of preparation now or pay the price of regret later. The cost of preparation is small. The cost of regret is everything. I urge you to share this video with someone you care about. Maybe it is a young person just starting out. Maybe it is an older relative nearing retirement. Maybe it is a friend who is struggling with debt. This information could change their trajectory. It could save them from ruin. Sharing is an act of care. It shows that you value their well-being. It spreads awareness. It builds a community of prepared individuals. Together, we are stronger. Together, we can navigate the challenges ahead. Do not keep this knowledge to yourself. Spread it. Light the way for others. In conclusion, the collapse of the US dollar would not erase your debt. It would amplify it. It would test your resilience. It would expose your vulnerabilities, but it does not have to destroy you. If you understand the risks, if you reduce your debt, if you build your assets, and if you protect your income, you can survive. You can even thrive. The future is uncertain, but your preparation is within your control. Take that control. Act with intention. Act with urgency. Do not wait for the warning signs to become sirens. Listen to the whisper now. Protect your money, protect your freedom, protect your family. The storm may come, but you can be ready. You can be the one who stands firm when others fall. That is the power of knowledge. That is the power of preparation. Use it wisely. Thank you for watching. If this video opened your eyes, please hit the like button. It helps others find this critical information. Subscribe for more deep dives into financial truth and personal protection. And remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Start planting your seeds of security now. Your future self will thank you. Stay safe, stay informed, stay free.